One, on our side, it's a win-win. Because as Joseph explains in his speech, if paywalls and subscription models still exist, the average person still has the entire internet to see the most essential information about any topic on planet Earth. That is not really a benefit that is comparative in this debate. The actual comparative that we are pushing for on side opposition is a better user experience in regards to all of the online journalists who choose to opt into having a paywall behind their content. Because let's be clear, having a paywall behind your content presumes some form of exclusivity and presumes some form of quality that exists in order to generate income for the people that seek to create it. So, if the standard of this debate is in ensuring that the most amount of people get the best access towards meaningful content, it is only on side opposition where we can do this to the best extent as it allows for clearly defined standards of information to be created. A couple of responses to deal with government bench. One, the world that Prime Minister sets up is the world that you already currently live in. Because if you go to Google, as to what PM says, this has the broadest possible way of accessing any type of information that they want. DPM supports this in saying that Wikipedia exists and that breadth of information is something that all people have access towards. That is to say, on their clash or on their benefit of accessibility and of information, it doesn't really change much on our side precisely because it still can happen and it's still what is readily used in status quo. 2. DPM sets up a false dichotomy. This isn't about one piece of information or 30 important news events are often covered by dozens of platforms for free online. The key difference is that the funding to make the free content accessible are things like expert opinion columns and other nice to haves, all of that. While of good quality, they aren't necessary to make well-informed decisions. You already have enough as is. Third and lastly, side government is motivated by the right thing, but we also want accessibility and to spread truth. But we have to understand that at best, we can do this in the short term, but in the long run, it's not sustainable for the cost that Joseph mentioned in his speech. At best, side government can work for a while, but in the long run, it can lead to a whole list of things that of bankruptcy of these media outlets, as well as a loss of jobs for those working in them. What is the extension and why is it more important? Extension. Why paywalls and subscription models allow for us to distinguish what is credible news sources and why absent this particular mechanism, online misinformation becomes an even worse problem. Why is this true? The first mechanism is on the nature of how online news and information proliferate. It's a problem in and of itself that the vast majority of the news articles we see are copied from the same sources and the same types of information that we have to see online. This is because the ability for news to be proliferated and expanded by the internet allows for people to copy articles that they see, replicate it, and put it on their own news sources. It literally takes 30 seconds to go to any news source, ChatGPT it, and then use it on your own less credible news source. What happens when you take away this particular subscription model? Because of the fact that the reason paywalls exist is to gatekeep more in-depth analysis or more exclusive type of content that is probably of higher quality, absent this, you are literally allowing malevolent actors to be able to steal content that is readily available and the content that these experts made on their own. What does this mean and why is this impact bad? This is bad insofar as paywalls offer a really good disincentive for a vast majority of malevolent actors to take advantage of information so easily. What I mean by this is that people are a lot less likely to try and steal from you if you have added layers of security and checks to be able to gatekeep information. 2. The harmful effect is that absent this ability for nefarious websites to be on the same standard as your this allows malevolent websites to be on the same standard as your Wall Street Journal or your New York Times. It literally makes the quality of news less likely to happen, given that these online journalists now do not have the premium standard attributed to their consent. Let's weigh this first mechanism based on what government said. 1. Government bench explains how free access to information is good. Firstly, this is not something that we have to contend with or deal with. The internet is large enough so that you can have access to this knowledge. It just takes a lot longer and a lot harder for you to do this absent any paywall. Secondly, we flip the argument by saying if you allow information to be accessed so freely, it harms the very people who make the news because now their expert insight can be ChatGPT and pasted on random, not really good websites. The second mechanism is on how credibility is a lot less harder to obtain, or a lot more harder to obtain. This is because now every news website has the ability to look the same. That is to say, a shady website has every right to look exactly like the Wall Street Journal or insert any premium online journal site because A, they're probably gonna offset the cost of not having a paywall by showing advertising, which is literally what like all of those shady websites look like. But B, they're more likely to be a lot more sensationalized due to the fact that their main source of revenue now is primarily on how much clicks that they get per article. This is comparatively bad because the type of information that we get to see are going to be even more homogeneous and unable to actively be challenged. This is because it is so much harder to practice media and information literacy at the point in which all of these articles look the same. Why is it that paywalls solve this problem? This is also a weighing metric on my end. 1. Paywalls solve this problem by highlighting premium information and by saying that this information took the right steps and took the right methods to earn that particular type of payment. 2. That is to say, I know what I am getting myself into when I pay $2 a year to access all of these premium websites, which I don't get when all of it is now suddenly gone. The third and last mechanism, really quickly, is just on how it develops laziness. And this directly flips the intuition of TPM, because they said having more opportunities is better. We say more opportunities is bad precisely because if you now have 30 articles to choose from, it will lead to analysis paralysis, or at the very least, it won't even lead you to think critically about it, precisely because all of these articles now look the same, are the same, and all of the analysis you get is just a lot harder to critically assess with. How should you weigh this in the round? We say that the context of this motion allows for accessibility and the quality of information to already happen on side opposition. We contend with the fact that yes, it is a lot harder to get quality. You have to take a longer time of it on our side of the house, precisely if you don't want to pay. But that is a necessary thing that we need to keep, or that is a necessary thing that is okay for us to have, precisely because on our side of the house, all of the people who are great at creating this type of information is able to make it so that they can get a lot of money from it, and they can keep the the principal or the premium that they have on their news. For all of those reasons, very, very proud to oppose.